We've all been there, right? That sharp, confusing pain when conflict pops up with people we love and trust. In this explainer, we're going to break down a really powerful framework for handling that hurt. And spoiler alert, it's not by fighting back, but by becoming a point of peace.
I mean, really think about it for a second. A friend, a family member, someone you just knew had your back. Then comes an unexpected word, a thoughtless action, maybe even a deliberate betrayal. Yeah, we've all been there.
And that initial shock, that sting, wow, it is powerful. If we're not careful, it can pull us right down into this really negative cycle. You know how it goes. We start replaying conversations, defending ourselves in our minds, and before we know it, that one moment of hurt starts to poison everything.
But here's the thing. This downward spiral isn't random. The framework we're exploring today actually outlines a really predictable pattern. It's called the cycle of resentment. So let's take a look at how this whole thing works.
It all starts with that initial shock and pain, but it doesn't just stop there. That pain, it starts to fester, and it turns into resentment. And from there, it's so easy to fall into self-focus, where our own hurt becomes the only thing we can see. And if that cycle just keeps spinning, it hardens into this lasting bitterness that can corrupt our entire heart.
The psychology here is just fascinating, isn't it? Nursing a grudge, plotting our defense, holding on to that anger. It all feels so right in the moment. It feels justified. But as this ancient proverb warns, a path that seems right can actually lead to the death of our relationships and even our own inner peace.
Okay, so if that's the destructive cycle, what's the alternative? What are we supposed to do? Well, the source offers this incredibly powerful idea. Instead of just passing on the pain, we can choose to be the stopping point. Being a stopping point is an active, conscious decision. It means choosing to absorb the hurt and extend grace instead of just passing the pain along like a hot potato. The focus completely shifts away from who's right or wrong and onto breaking the destructive cycle itself. That's the real goal.
Now, this is not about pretending the hurt didn't happen, not at all. It's about consciously choosing to put away all that bitterness and anger and actively replacing it with kindness and forgiveness. That very choice is the engine that powers the whole idea of being a stopping point.
To make this crystal clear, the source material contrasts these two approaches using some real stories, showing how this choice between resentment and grace leads to dramatically different ends. So on one side, we have what's called the way of resentment, and the poster child for this is a man named Absalom. On the other side, we've got the way of grace, and we see this lived out in the lives of Joseph and David. Let's see how their stories build. Wow, this table just lays out the contrast perfectly. I mean, look at the path of resentment. Absalom nursed his bitterness, he spread rumors, and the outcome was war, destruction, and death. Total disaster. Now look at the path of grace. Joseph was betrayed by his own brothers, but he extended grace and his entire family was saved. David was hunted by his enemy, but he refused to retaliate, and the result was restored peace. The key actions you take directly lead to these starkly different outcomes. It's so clear.
So seeing these examples is one thing, but how do we actually apply this? How do we actively walk this path of peace in our own lives when conflict blows up?
This verse from Romans is so key. Notice the phrasing, so far as it depends on you. This isn't about forcing the other person to change. Let's be honest, that's usually a losing battle. It's all about taking full ownership of our own response, because that's the only thing we can truly control. So here's the practical path. First, you've got to practice introspection, honestly looking at your own role in the mess. From there, you can actively choose blessing instead of retaliation. This allows you to become a peacemaker, not just a scorekeeper. And through it all, the mindset is to focus on your own growth, to see every conflict as a chance to strengthen your character, no matter what the other person does. So if you take just one thing away from this whole explainer, let it be this. In any conflict, you are not powerless. You have the ability and you have the choice to be the one who stops that destructive cycle of resentment right in its tracks. And that brings us to a final question, just for you. Think about the friction in your own life right now, big or small. What cycle of pain or resentment will you choose to be the stopping point for today? Thanks for joining me for this explainer.